Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome inside the Fan Cave. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Bob Pompeani at your service, along with Andrew Fillipponi over at 93.7 The Fan. And Andrew, I know that you felt the same way that husband who just won the lottery did when you married Amanda. You hit the lottery there, so you have a lot in common with that man from Beaver County.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I agree. She was at Oakmont today. She looked for you, Bob, but you, I guess, were just bunkered down in that Surexon bus. You were trying to get all the latest technology updates on how they change out clubs and whatnot over there. What an unbelievable day. I mean, I watched all your sports reports tonight. The fact that TJ Watt not showing up to minicamp is like an afterthought. Would otherwise be a huge story, but we've got obviously the entire golf world watching us right now and the entire football world watching us right now because of Aaron Rodgers' decision to report to the Steelers practice today and then talk to Richie Walsh and everybody after practice.
And for the record, I felt the same way when I married Lisa, so I want to get that straight in case she's watching. She knows how I feel. But yeah, I mean, quite frankly, the Watt thing is a surprise because it's a little different than what he did back in 2021 when he decided to attend minicamp as a, quote, hold-in, and that carried into training camp. And, you know, they finally got a deal done. So I don't think it's as big, other than it's mandatory, and he didn't do this the last time. The big story was Aaron Rodgers. He's there. And he said Mike Tomlin had a lot to do with why he is there, which I think we all kind of speculated. But, you know, again, I don't know what the national media thinks of this move. Some are pro Rodgers. Others think it just is not going to work out here. So how do you feel about it, knowing that this guy has a pretty good resume, but he is 41 years old, and that's the one thing that, to me, continues to come back to me.
Well, Tom Brady has a great resume, and now he's calling games on TV, and Ben Roethlisberger's got a great resume, too, and he's doing a podcast. You know, so great resumes are exactly that, they're resumes. Terry Bradshaw's got an all-time great resume. He's almost 80, and he's talking about Aaron Rodgers chewing bark. I care about what you can do right now.
I know.
And what you can do right now, I have major questions about Aaron Rodgers. Changing teams again at 41 years old, starting all over again. I mean, he said what you'd want him to say in this situation today when it's his first day on the job. You know, very positive things about the city of Pittsburgh, Steelers fans, the Steelers organization, Mike Tomlin, his teammates, his assistant coaches he's going to be working with, all of those things. But we also got that from Russell Wilson at his introductory press conference, and that worked for a while until it didn't. So Bob, my silver lining or glass half full outlook on the Steelers is I don't think it's going to work, but I think it's going to help put them in a position to draft their next quarterback in 2026 when the draft is here next April. So I don't really think them just merely getting to the playoffs with Aaron Rodgers is really a great outcome. In fact, I think it would be a pretty bad outcome because it would extend the playoff drought and it would give you a worse draft position for next April.
Yeah, but if they get in the playoffs, I'd be all for that. I agree with you in general terms here that I think Aaron Rodgers is beyond his prime, and this won't necessarily work. However, I understand why they want to do it, because they still want to try to figure out a way to get into the postseason and see where it takes them. I will not rule out that Aaron Rodgers could be better than we think at 41, and I also won't rule out that their offense in general could be better, specifically their offensive line. So that's out there. That could happen. But generally speaking, if you're asking me, you know, what percentage of success do you think Rodgers will have as a quarterback in this offense, it's going to be less than 50%. But again, they believe that he will help. And, you know, we saw him throw last year. His arm still does not seem to be a problem. It's mobility, but he's 2 years removed from the Achilles. So you can see that potentially being better.
Let's talk through exactly what you just said there. They believed that Mitch Trubisky could be the successor to Ben Roethlisberger. They believed that Kenny Pickett was the next guy when they used a first-round pick on him. They believed that Russell Wilson could come back here and find the fountain of youth. They believed that Justin Fields would be able to come here and be more of the guy that he was 3 years ago in Chicago and not 2 years ago. So they've believed a lot of things about quarterbacks. Unfortunately, since Ben retired, they've been wrong about all of them. So they've, in my opinion, on quarterbacks, they've lost the benefit of the doubt. We're not talking about them drafting wide receivers or hiring head coaches, two things they've been very good at historically. Their quarterback luck has run dry, and I just have a hard time believing a guy that went 5-12 last year and 8-9 his last year in Green Bay is suddenly going to transform this football team in 2025.
Generally, I agree with you, but I understand what they're trying to do because they don't want to, pass on a season. They do have plenty of draft capital to make a move next year. We'll see how it all plans out, but it should be a very interesting season with Aaron Rodgers in town for 1 year. And this is our KDKA.com Connect question of the night, and this one is an interesting one. Will world number one Scottie Scheffler win the U.S. Open? Yes or no? Most people believe he is. I'd like to hear from you. I don't either, but he is the prohibitive favorite to win this thing. We'll talk about that, but you can do it. It is the KDK.com Connect poll of the night, brought to you by Williams Country Club, which is a great place to play golf if you're interested in that. So we'll talk U.S. Open and other stuff coming up. We want to hear from you at 412-575-2600. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call right here on KDKA Plus, and most nights 93.7 The Fan. Back in a flash. This is our Xfinity tweet of the night, and you can see this. How about a putt from 122 yards with a putter on number one at Oakmont? This golfer, whose name is Blair, not many people have heard of him, but Zach Blair is a guy who knows how to play this hole because you can hit a long drive, but you still have a hard time holding the green. Most people who play there, the members, will putt it not from 122 yards, but from that distance. That's a pretty good putt, and a lot of people out there really appreciated it. Zach Blair with our tweet of the night, brought to you by Xfinity. I've never seen a putt from 122 yards, but that's what you had. Most people were hitting 9-irons down the hill there. Andrew, we have a lot of people want to talk, so I want to waste no time and get right to it. A lot of people are on the hotline, so let's begin with Brad in Brookline, who joins us here for the first caller of the night, and I'm sure he wants to talk about the Steelers and the developments over at the South Side today. Hello, Brad.
Hey, just a few points, if I may, gentlemen. I see no problem with Rodgers signing for 1 year, $13 million. And Andrew, your credibility is shot. I mean, when you talk about Pickett to Pickens, the next Montana to Rice, I mean, how can I take your credibility?
Hey, Brad.
Yeah,
can I ask you a question if you don't mind?
Sure.
So my credibility's shot because I got Kenny Pickett wrong. The Steelers drafted him in the first round. So they thought he was a franchise quarterback. So shouldn't, therefore, their credibility be shot too?
Yeah, maybe, but I mean, you built.
I mean, they were.
And they are the ones making
They
these
picked him in the first
decisions,
round.
You built.
So did they.
He was the next Tom Brady.
So did they. They picked him in the first round. They thought he was their quarterback answer. He wasn't a third-round pick. If he was Will Howard in the 6th round, then I said that, then guess what? It's all on me. They picked him in the first round. How do I get more flack for that than they do? That makes no sense to me. Yes, I'll own it. I was wrong. But they were more wrong, Bob, because they used that premium pick on him, not me.
Right.
I didn't do that.
And again, they're the ones making these decisions. And when I say they believe, it's because they believe. This is what they believe. At the end of the day, we'll analyze what happens with their beliefs and their moves. And you're right. And last year, Fields and Wilson came in for the same kind of belief that they could change this offense. And I still, for one, my preference was Fields. I've said this a million times, just because of his age, Andrew. I'd rather take 21 over 41 any day in terms of potential upside down the road. While you're looking for a franchise quarterback, why not rule him as a potential guy who can do it? Because maybe he can, and maybe we're going to find out this year he does. They believed that he wasn't good enough, so they moved on from him, even though they could have signed him. They offered him a deal. So, this is all about moves that are made, and so, yes, they're the ones who ultimately have to make it, and this could work for them. And I'm not going to rule that out because, as I said, strange things can happen. If he gets the kind of protection, I still think he has the arm to make it down the field. All right, let's go to Kirk in Manor next up tonight. Hey, Kirk, go ahead.
Hey, guys, how are you tonight? Hey, I'm just picking your brains. Let T.J. Watt walk. There's no reason. We have the capable backup to play his position. Why spend the $40 $45 million a year? Just a question.
No, I think a lot of people would agree with that based on how this goes and the market that has changed substantially from Max Crosby to Myles Garrett. At the same time, you say his backup, you know, nobody's as good as Watt on that team as an edge rusher. I'm sorry, he's not. He's the guy who sets it. Now, you can argue in the postseason when they got there, he's not been a factor. But, Andrew, a lot of people believe that they'd be better off, especially since they are searching for still a quarterback beyond this year, that he would bring in assets that could help you get to that end.
Look, he's gotten paid quarterback money. You know, when he was making he's making $28 million a year. When he signed that deal, he was making a lot more than many quarterbacks. Now, since that deal has happened, a ton of quarterbacks have passed him by, but he's still the Steelers' highest paid player, Bob. And when you're the Steelers' highest paid player, look, regular season performance is great. He's been a defensive player of the year. He was robbed out of another one. He's been an all-pro. He is a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. But he has not come through at all in big games. And part of your legacy as a Steeler, in my opinion, is how you perform in those big games. He's got 1 sack in 4 games. The defense on average in those 4 games gives up 41 points. I'm sorry, when you're the highest paid guy on the team, the expectation is you are that team's best player in big games. Sidney Crosby is supposed to be the Penguins' best player in big games, and he generally is. And that's my issue with Watt. And it's happened repeatedly. So I'm not really inclined to give him that amount of money because he doesn't show up in the most important games, Bob.
And the other thing is he is a 30-year-old edge rusher. And if he's looking for 4 years or something of that nature, that puts it really at a very risky situation for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're right. However, we haven't talked enough about their defense. We spend so much time on quarterbacks and whether or not whoever they bring in this year is going to be a difference maker. Their defense cannot do what it did last year, and he was part of that. A lot of guys were part of that. They were terrible against the run, and if that doesn't change, you could have similar results. Let's go out to Noah in Mount Lebanon. Hello, Noah. How are you?
Bobby, nice to talk to you. The gentleman to your right. I mean, I just got a text that
Mr. Pony
and Ayuk. But no, I'm the guy who wants you going long at black tie events against your wife.
Oh my! Let's move along to Gary in West Elizabeth. Hello, Gary.
Yeah, Bob. You don't think he's better than the dude in Cleveland? He's not worth that kind of money?
I think he is better than the dude in Cleveland. Yeah, he is. He's better. But again, the market is the market. And they have so much to spend on players. And as Andrew said, this is big-time money. He's the highest-paid guy on the team. And for that, you expect a lot more. Now, he can probably come in this regular season if he signs, and I believe he will. Do you believe he will, Andrew? Because they seem to want that to happen.
Do I think it'll happen? Yeah, probably, because I think the Steelers will give in. But if they thought they were close on a deal or that everything was hunky-dory, I think he would be there. Roethlisberger said on his podcast tonight that he thinks this is proof that they're very far apart. And I know the season starts in 3 months, not 3 days. But, I mean, generally speaking, Bob, you should know what he's worth, right? Because of what the Max Crosby and Myles Garrett contracts are. So I don't really understand why there would be a lot of distance between the two parties in a negotiation. Those two guys have basically set the market for Watt.
Right. And the Steelers could have avoided that if they went to him last year, as his brother had urged them to do, before Crosby signed, before Garrett signed. And if that were the case, he would have gotten probably, what would be the number? It would be far less than what it is now based on what Garrett signed for. So, and that's one of their, practices that hasn't changed over years. And maybe sometimes they should make amendments to those practices just so they can save money in the long run. It is a business after all, and every dollar counts. You see our Williams question of the night. It's the KDKA.com question of the night, brought to you by Williams Golf. Will world number 1 Scottie Scheffler win the U.S. Open? And now many people say 74% no, they will pick somebody else. Who do you like, Andrew, in this field? Because I know you're in the FanDuel. You got a lot of bets and different odds on players. There are a lot of guys who could win this one. I'm starting to lean toward Tommy Fleetwood as my pick.
Well, he's never won on American soil, but I like that. I think he's got the game for Oakmont. You need to be able to make every shot there. You need to be able to obviously drive it a long way, but you got to drive it accurately because of the thick rough that you guys showed on the sports cast tonight. Obviously, so many bunkers, the way that the greens are not only fast, but the undulations and whatnot there are not really typically what you see on the PGA Tour. Jack Nicklaus once said of Oakmont, there's a lot of British golf in there. There's a lot of links golf style. So that would actually suit Fleetwood, too, as a guy that grew up playing over in Great Britain. But I like Oberg. He's my pick. He's 25. Ernie Els was 24 when you correctly predicted him to win the 1994 U.S. Open.
How about that? That was before any FanDuel. I just liked him.
That would have been nice. He's a big talent. He's a young talent. And I could see this being the place where he opens that door and pushes himself right through, because Rory's game is way off right now. I think the other live guys seem to be all over the place. Rahm has been up and down. DeChambeau's been really good in both majors. So maybe he's the guy. Last year, Scheffler was not really that competitive in the U.S. Open when everybody thought he was a slam dunk and a shoe-in to win it. So I think sometimes, Bob, his putting can hold him back. And the speed and, like I said, the contours of these greens, I could see being a problem for him this week at Oakmont.
When we come back, I'm going to ask Andrew, and I'll give you my bold prediction from Oakmont. Maybe a surprise that you wouldn't have expected. We'll talk about that coming up when we return. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call right here on KDKA+. KDKA News at 11 starts in about 6 minutes from right now. Ken Rice is over at the anchor desk. What do you got, Ken?
Bob, police arrest 4 people, at least one they say could be connected to a string of postal workers being robbed. Plus, new concerns about an Elwood City police officer after a controversial confrontation caught on camera. And Aaron Rodgers reveals a secret while speaking publicly as a Steeler for the first time. All coming up right here at 11, Bob.
All right. Thanks very much, Ken, for that. You got a bold prediction about the U.S. Open? Because I watched Rory McIlroy today do a lot of things, including his press conference. I'm of the belief he may not even make the cut. He did not make the cut at the Canadian Open. He looked bad. I don't know what's going on there, but he doesn't look like he's focused. How about you?
Well, the driver is all screwed up for him. He basically got, all out of whack at the PGA and then never recovered at Toronto either. Bob, we've seen some crazy things. Jack Nicklaus in his 50s nearly led after 18 holes and after 36 holes. Not the last time, but a couple times before when the U.S. Open was here. This is my bold prediction. I think Phil Mickelson is going to be under par after 36 holes and in contention. He's never won the U.S. Open. He's 54 years old. I mean, he hasn't played great on live, but he's still honestly one of the most talented golfers of all time.
6 second place finishes, and we're out of time, Andrew. I'm going to mark that one down. That's a good one. We'll see you again tomorrow night.